Homesteader family, welcome back to the journey. Welcome to this edition of the Sunday Monday vlog. Max is like, he's live, I gotta come get on camera. Or he's gonna get up and go do something. He's gonna scratch. He's got some itches. So, this previous week, it was beautiful weather again. Then towards the end of the week, we got some rain. And then last night and the night before were cold. We got down to 11 degrees last night at like 3 o'clock this morning, somewhere in there. Max, get out the kitchen. This night. Max, come. Maximus, get out the kitchen. Just because I'm on camera don't mean you can go walk around the kitchen. So, Max is checking out. I did some work in here. So, he wants to see what's all going on. But this week, I got some stuff done at the homestead. I got some more solar area cleared up. And then as you saw, I split off to the tiny home. I went ahead, I replaced the 3 windows. I ripped out the single pane glass windows that were sweating, letting cold air in, hot air in, to the insulated windows that I bought last year. Ripped the metal, well, not ripped it off, but unscrewed it from the shed. Pulled out the old windows, put the new windows in. Made that progress. I wanted to do more in the tiny home, but then we got rain. I lost some motivation, and then like yesterday or day before, I slept for like 12-14 hours. So I didn't quite get around to getting things done. So this upcoming week, I do have plans to do a lot more. I'm gonna be working on the tiny home tomorrow and probably most of next week. I want to try to get a lot of it done. I have a subscriber that wants to help get some material to get things moving forward since I've slowed down on it. So I'm going to probably most likely get the skirting done this upcoming week. I'm going to get all the panels that I already have for the dog pen. I'm going to get those up so that way I have a penned-in area for the dogs. I want to try to run whatever wiring I can in the shed. I'll get the breaker box later on. But I need to get the wiring ran so that way I can button up the walls, button up the ceiling. I also need to go ahead and get some lights in the next couple months. They shouldn't be too expensive. I got to figure out which ones I want. But once I can get all that done and get the shed buttoned up, then I'm going to start moving furniture. I'm also, you can see in here, check that out, all those shelves. I've been moving everything around here in the restaurant again. I'm preparing to leave. So a lot of people don't think I'm serious about moving to the homestead. I am preparing. So that whole wall that was wide open, I went ahead, all the shelves that I had stacked up back here behind these that you look at right here, I went ahead, relined the walls with all of them to make space. And then on days I'm not doing much, like today I went and just got a truckload of firewood because I was down to less than a wheelbarrow load of firewood. So I did that today. That's the only thing I did today. Didn't even feed the animals. They were mad at me I didn't feed them. I'm like, you can wait till tomorrow morning. They've got hay and stuff, so they can still eat. They just want that delicious, expensive sweet feed to keep their bellies fat and plump. But on days that I'm not doing much, or if it's raining, I'm going to start going through all the stuff that's back here, all the stuff from my grandfather's house, his old dishes and things like that. I'm going to start weeding out what I'm going to keep, what I don't want to keep. Go ahead, start throwing stuff in the dumpster, get rid of that. I want to start getting some of the dump stuff in the entrance of the homestead where the shed used to be. I still haven't cleaned that up. I want to get to that. So, because spring's coming, we have grass growing here. We have buds that are starting to split, even though we got cold this upcoming week, supposed to be. Thank you, DT. Good luck to you, too. But because spring is coming, and we have spring abound, I'm really grinding on that spring cleaning. So, like I said, today I did firewood. Then I went ahead and relined all the shelves along that wall. I'm going to start gathering stuff up, get it thrown away. I need to start getting some dirt. Well, I need to get a bunch of dirt. So, for those of you that don't know, I have the 2 rose bushes out this door. I went ahead, that lattice that I made last year, I got that ripped out already. Just have the rose bushes there. I want to get them dug up. I want to get them taken over to the homestead because I want pretty flowers outside my shed so I can smell that when I crack the windows. Along with the blackberry bushes, the thornless blackberry bushes that I still have in some of the pots. I want to wait till they start popping again, and then I want to layer a bunch of the branches again and get that going so I can take the canes over to the homestead. Still got to figure out where I'm going to plant them, but I want to start getting things moved. I want to get the spring cleaning done. I want to get the leaves raked up, the branches that are piled up behind the restaurant down into the ditch area, and just get cracking. So that's what I got coming up this week. Not too much, just constant grinding, trying to get the tiny home done. As soon as tiny home's done, the inverter, the battery bank box, all that's going to the homestead. Steve's going to be able to hook me up with some power, not a lot of power, until I buy all the wiring, the connectors. I also need the other batteries, the solar rack, and all that type of stuff. So I'm a long way out from having the entire system over there. But the little bit I have, he'll be able to get me going. And then I'm going to have to buy probably just a small little junction box or something, breaker box, because I don't have a breaker box, and you got to have breaker box to run the power to. And then that goes to your outlet. So I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to figure that out. But we know this homesteader, this alien, always comes up with some type of master plan. And I get there. It might be delayed. I'm not going to be there next month like I want to. Probably not going to be there in April. Probably not May. And depending on if I can have generator by June, then I might go to the homestead in June. The reason I'm not sure about June quite yet is I need AC. So I'm going to close off the snowball room back here so that way I don't have to cool that back room. So that will help on some of the heat that I don't have to deal with. I'm going to yank the AC unit out of there. So I have an AC unit for the shed. However, I don't have power to run an AC unit. Not even half a day. So I definitely have to have definitely have the generator in order to be there in June. So if I don't save enough money, I'm cutting back on my spending again, trying to get my credit cards paid off. However, I'm having issues with money that's supposed to be coming in, not coming in now. So my bills that are normally paid right now aren't paid. So not sure how that's going to go. I was almost out credit card debt again, and now I'm not getting that money. So, we all know, life is stressful. There's ups and downs, and that's where I am right now. I'm on the downward bottom, trying to work my way back up, so we'll see where I get. So, for the title of this video, for this week's talking topic, because everybody seems to like the talking topics, I get a lot more view time on my talking topic than I do for what my daily vlog on what I do for last week and this week coming up. So, everybody's been asking why I chose homesteading. Why do some people get depressed? Why some people get burned out? Why do boomers, when they retire, have a hard time? Why, when military members get out of service, they have issues? Well, that's going to boil down to what I chose for me as my purpose, and that's homesteading. When you retire from a job that you work 9 to 5, you're going to have that empty void. When you get out of the military and you're in a set regiment, every single day, every hour, every minute, every second, and you get out the military and you have nothing. When you go to homestead from the city and you're used to all the people, all their interactions, all the going to the clubs, going to the bars, going to restaurants, doing this, doing that, it leaves a big void. And what we need to be thinking about is, what is our purpose? How can we stop our depression? How can we stop the down days, being burned out, having a void that just throbs at you and breaks you down? Well, that's because you need a purpose. So no matter whether you want to do homesteading or not, you've got to find your purpose. Because if you don't have a purpose, there's no point in doing anything. So the reason homesteading is my purpose is because I've talked about many of times. When I first lost everything in 2011 and was homeless in my hobo tarp tent that I made, when I finally got the 12 by 20 first part of my house built, I was laying there all day long, playing video games, watching movies, watching TV, not doing anything. No motivation, no determination, no wanting to thrive. I was just surviving. I was comfortable. And my neighbor, as we all know, my mom and my pa, Dan and Linda, Dan told me to help me do the next section of my house that I had to call and try to get chickens. So that way I had some type of discipline, responsibility, regiment, whatever you want to call it. A purpose. Never even thought about it. But he was trying to give me that purpose in life. He was trying to give me something to keep me occupied. If you have chickens, you can't just buy chickens like you buy a plant, sit in your house, and 8 days later it's dead because you don't do nothing to it. You've got to water it. You've got to make sure it has sunlight. It has to have nutrients. Same thing with chickens. You got to go out. You got to feed them. You got to fence them. You got to give them a roost. You got to give them nesting boxes. You got to protect them from predators. It's responsibility. It's a purpose that keeps you moving, keeps you motivated, keeps you determined. Now, a lot of people think in the homesteading world, like I've talked about a lot, my goal was by 40 years old. I'm 37 now, so I'm not going to have all the big stuff done by 40. But my goal, going all the way back into my 20s, was by the time I was 40, I wanted to have my house done, the barns done, the fencing's done, the gardens put in, the beehives, the orchard, the whole 9 yards. And a lot of people say, well, if you have all that done by 40, then you have nothing to do from 40 on forward. What would your purpose be? What would you do to, keep you going? Well, a lot of people do different things. They accomplish it, and then they don't look for any other purpose. But with my scenario, in having everything done by 40, then that's mainly all the grunt work done, the hard work done, the lifting work done, the moving work done, the strenuous work done. And what would that leave me from 41? Well, that would be putting in new seeds for my garden every year, pruning my trees, collecting the fruit from my trees, weeding, fertilizing, bringing in soil, making soil, collecting honey, taking care of my bees. It's stuff that's not what a teenager can do. Because I know as I get older, as a lot of you know from being older, or those of you that are getting older, understand and can comprehend that what you used to be able to do when you were 15, 20, 25 years old, you're not going to be able to do when you're 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years old. Being an alien living to 200, I really got to look forward to what I'm not going to be able to do in all those years. So that was my goal. That was my purpose of choosing homesteading, because Dan got me invested in chickens, and then it went to rabbits, and then to goats, and then now I got camels and horses and donkeys and pigs and all the more. So it's turned into a snowball effect. But just because I get my house built doesn't mean my purpose ends. Just because my house is a goal, you've got to set that next goal. You got to set that next purpose, because if all you're worried about is like me, My goal is to live on the homestead. So I get the tiny home done. I move into the tiny home. Well, that doesn't mean for the next 4 years I sit there, watch TV, and play video games and say, okay, I'm on the homestead, I'm saving money, I'm done. If I do that, then you're going to get where all you want to do is sleep all day, where you're not motivated, where you're not determined to do anything. Kind of like the last 2 days for me. Because I don't push myself to get out of bed. I wake up when the dogs want to go out, let them out, hop back in bed, go back to bed and sleep. I'm not getting nothing done. I'm losing that purpose. I'm losing that motivation. I'm losing that determination. So, for you, whether you're a 9-to-5er, whether you're retired, whether you're getting ready to retire, whether you're in high school, college, whatever, you have to look for that purpose in life. Goals will help you get to that purpose. Goals are one thing, but a purpose is a whole new meaning. And what I mean by that is you've got to set goals to get you to that purpose. And your purpose is what makes you happy. A lot of people think the job, I got to go to college. I got to do all these hours, got to do this education. I got to do these certifications because I'm going for this job because it has all the money. Well, then they get to that job and they're not happy. That's because they shot for goals and not for a purpose. Your purpose in life is what makes you you, what makes you happy, what makes you continue to thrive, not just survive. By doing that, like a house, for example, a lot of elders, my great-grandparents, they lived in the same house for most of their life. Yes, they moved around, up until 20s, 30s, maybe even 40s. I don't know for sure. But I know, since I was a little baby, they were always in that same house. I know my grandfather was in his house from the 80s. I know we were in multiple houses growing up, but for the main part of my childhood, I was in one house. When my parents divorced, my mom bought a house, and she was at that house for a long, long time. Don't know if she's still at that house, but when I graduated high school, when I went through military, when I got out military, she was still there. That house is a purpose. Like I've said a million times, people go out and buy t-shirts, they buy fancy cars, they buy the Apple iPhone, they buy earbuds, they buy all these different materialistic things, and those things don't mean anything. It's just that goal. That's not a purpose in life, is to buy this, to buy that. Now, if you were like my grandfather, who had his Studebaker, that was his purpose in life. That was what made him him. That's what made him happy. That's what made him productive. That's what gave him any type of satisfaction in life. Homesteading is my purpose in life. Homesteading is what brings joy to my life, what brings happiness to my life. It costs a lot of money. It keeps me in debt. It keeps me poor. But when you look at it in the long run, valuation, monetary, finances, debt doesn't go with you when you leave. And you can probably say the memories and all that stuff don't go with you when you leave. But I much rather live the life I live in debt to be able to enjoy the life I want to a certain circumstance. I don't want to be waiting for the first of the month to try to do anything. I don't want to, struggle and things like that. That comes with it. Same thing with moving into a shed with no toilet, no running water. It's a sacrifice, but it gets me to a goal I want to get to. But with all these goals in life, you got to fight for that purpose. If you just chase the goals, you're never going to see your purpose. A lot of people are like, well, homesteading's so expensive. I don't have the money. But you do have the money. You just don't know it. There's a lot of people, like I listened to Appalachia's Homestead with Patera. Listened to her video today, and she talked about people are telling her they don't have money to prep. They don't have money to stock up food because, she talks a lot about prepping food and preppers and stuff like that. And like she said, a lot of people still have internet. A lot of people are still watching on a cell phone these YouTube videos. A lot of people are paying for a lot of television shows. A lot of Hulu and Disney Plus and Netflix and everything else. People are still going to restaurants, including me. Like I said, I live in debt, so I don't sit there and say I'm not in debt or say I'm in debt because I can't afford nothing, because I do make stupid choices. I feed a bunch of animals. That's a stupid choice. But a lot of people can come out of their shell. A lot of people are just afraid of that risk. That risk of leaving that 9-to-5 job and the struggle. The reason why a lot of people aren't willing to take that risk to live the life of struggle is because they've lived with a family that's taking care of them. Their mom, their dad. They might have moved in with their grandparents. They're used to them covering the bills. They're used to not having a rent bill, not having a water bill, not having an electric bill. And then you turn 18, you go out the house and you realize it's nothing but adulting, paying bills, working to pay bills. And in all that struggle, you look for comfort. So you look for luxuries like Netflix, Disney Plus, going to restaurants, going on vacation, to try to reduce that stress of regular adult life. But when you go for those luxuries, you're only putting yourself farther in debt. You're only going to have to work harder to make more money to cover those new bills, which gives you more stress, which then you look for more luxuries. And it's a vicious cycle. And then you throw on top things that happen around the world, and inflation and gas prices going up, and things that you can't even control that cost you more money, or a company goes bankrupt and you get laid off of work. Well, where's your purpose? You have no purpose. You're lost. You're broke. You're losing everything. And you go like me and become homeless and not know how to restart. Go into depression. Go into a rut. But if you stay in that rut, you're only going to dig deeper and deeper and deeper. But if you motivate yourself to get out of bed each day, to look for that next job, or look for that piece of land that's only a couple $1,000s that you can save up for by reducing your bills, take a loan out. It might be another bill, but guess what? You could always take a loan and get a piece of property. If you have bad credit, you can look for owner finance. There's plenty of people that still do owner finance. Look, I've done how many different owner finances. So if you're motivated enough, if you're determined enough, you will make that choice, that risk, that gamble to get what you want, to have your purpose. If you're not willing to take that risk, that gamble, then all you're doing is going for goals. Because you're working that 9-to-5 job saying, well, I need this much money for a homestead, so I've got to keep working this 9-to-5 job to come up with this money. And then in 10 years, that money that you needed for the homestead 10 years ago, with now the new cost of everything, with the cost of inflation, it's now not even half of what you needed. So what happens then? Well, I don't have the money to homestead, so I gotta make more money. So then you continue for the next 10 years working. And the same thing happens again. And you work for the next 10 years. And the same thing happens again. And then before you know it, you're at retirement age. Your life has passed you by. Your youth is gone. Your capabilities to homestead is gone. Where do you go? What do you do? Do you follow society? Do you finally gamble, take a risk then? Am I going to be able to homestead forever? No. But my purpose is nature. My purpose is animals. My purpose is living a clean life. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. What are a lot of boomers able to do? They're able to farm. They're able to garden. They're able to run cattle. Even up into their 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. I know a lot of old homesteaders that are still doing it. And that's one of the benefits of homesteading. You're constantly out there. You're grinding away. You're doing your thing. You're staying physically fit. You're helping build that motivation to live life, not just pass through life. And when you do that, you can continue on. My grandparents that are in Colorado are in their 80s, and they still walk every day, several miles a day. They still exercise every day so they can keep active. They have health issues, but they're still able to walk. They're not in a walker. They're not in a wheelchair. They're not strung up in a bed. They stay motivated. They stay dedicated. They keep with a purpose. They do jigsaw puzzles to keep their mind sharp. They do their exercise to keep their body in shape. They go out and experience life. They enjoy life. They have a purpose. Another day is another day to enjoy. That is their purpose. Homesteading, my purpose is my baby's over there, laying on the ground. My purpose, sitting in the woods after chainsawing a little bit and just taking in the sounds. Listening to the leaves rustle. Listening to the deer trample through the forest. Seeing the deer. Rescuing a baby deer that I scared into my fence by accident by driving down the road. Being able to touch a baby deer. Going back to my house in Colorado when I finally did my upstairs and I put those big windows in and all those hummingbirds came in and got stuck. And for those of you that have been following forever, remember me being able to go up, capture the hummingbirds several times a day to let them out of the upstairs because they couldn't figure how to get back around the windows. Those type of things. Baby goats being born. Baby cows being born. Baby pigs being born. Chicks. Ducks. Baby emus. Look at all the things I've experienced in my life for just 37 years. Look at how many times I gambled. How many times I took a risk where I left my house where I was finally comfortable. I had running water. I had a toilet upstairs. I had a bed that looked at the most gorgeous view I've ever had. I'll never have a view that way again. But I didn't have enough land. And I took that risk of going over to the 50 acres to find out that was one of the worst decisions I made because of the community on the north side Cotopaxi. But I also found some of the best neighbors over there. Some of the best people over there. Some of the best views over there. I had herds of antelope outside my gate all the time. I had the elk that came through. Things that didn't happen on my 2.5 acres. And I went back to a camper trailer. No water. No electric. Over the years, finally got electric put in. Finally got a well put in. And then I risked one more time. I gambled one more time. And I went across country to Arkansas. And now I've been in Arkansas for 3.25 years. Coming up on 3.5 years. Where it was nothing but woods. No animal pen. No house site. No tiny home up by the house site. And look at how far I've come in that 3.25 years. Struggling. Month to month. Credit card debt. Mortgages. But look how far I've come. You can do the same. You just have to find your purpose. You have to find the motivation and the dedication to take that gamble, to take that risk, to move cross country, to move down the street, to move to a different neighborhood, to a different state, to a different country, to find what you are looking for. I thought the 50 acres was going to be my happy place. Peaceful Valley Ranch was the original name I named it. That was not my happy place. So what do? Do I sit there and suffer? Or do I take a risk and gamble and try to find my happy place? I know my purpose is homesteading. I know my purpose is having gardens where I can eat fresh veggies without herbicides and pesticides and bioengineered stuff that they're giving everybody nowadays. Having gardens that have flavor, not cardboard tomatoes at the grocery store. But if you don't have your purpose, if you don't have your happy place, then life is more than a struggle. Even with a purpose, even with your happy place, you're going to struggle just like I do. But life is more tolerable. Life is more giving when you're happy with it than devastated at it. There's a lot of people out there struggling right now. There's a lot of people that are working multiple jobs that can't even survive where they're at. If you think about it, if you're in the city and rents are $1,000, $1,500, $1,800, $2,000, $3,000 a month rent. Marshall, Arkansas, where my house was, rents were like $450 to $550 a month. Right now they're like $650 a month. Do you take that risk? Do you take that gamble if you're barely surviving on $3,000 a month? If you're doing it on $3,000 a month for rent, why not move to a place like Arkansas where you can afford things, rent, utilities, bills that you can't afford somewhere else? Just a change of life can make you help find your purpose, can make you help find your happy place. The problem we have is our families that we grow up in never move, most of them. Our neighbors never move, most of them. We're stuck in the mindset that we have to stay local. We have to stay by family. We can't go out and explore like we used to. We can't just go out and take that risk. We're bred, educated, however you want to say it, to not gamble, to not risk it, to play it safe. But if you play it safe your whole life, you're not going to find that purpose. You play it safe your whole life, you're not going to find your happiness. And before you know it, talked about it all the time, you blink your eyes and we're off this planet. You blink your eyes and that dash on your gravestone is done. It has the final date. How many gravestones have you seen with the starting number, the dash, and the ending number only being a couple years apart? How many of them are only 10 years apart, 20 years apart, 30 years apart, 40 years apart? Look at all those chances that it could have been you to already have your final number. How many of you could have been gone and never got to your purpose? How many of you might be that number tomorrow, next year, 5 years, 10 years from now? We never know how long we're going to live. That's another thing. We always think we're going to live forever. We're not going to die early. We always have more time to get to our purpose. We always have more time to find our happiness. We always have more time to make more money at that 9 to 5 to get what we want. But the only thing that you're guaranteed is you're wasting that time between your starting number and your ending number. That dash just closes. So with that, I hope that was a little bit of motivation for some of you. I hope a lot of you, if not all of you, find your purpose at some point. I hope all of you find your happiness. Find your soul. Find your heart. Find happy critters. If you love your critters. Come here, come here, come here. I'm not going to follow you. And just love on them. Be happy. Enjoy your life. Because you never know when these old guys are going to be gone. You never know when your family is going to be gone. You never know when your friends are going to be gone. Enjoy every day. Enjoy every moment. With that, like always, live happy, live free. That's the only way to be. I'll see you guys on the next video.